Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm getting rid of something here. Hold on a second. There we go. So, I'm kind of trying to figure out the best way to do this. I wanted to sit back a little bit because I know that when I've done other videos like this, I'm sitting forward and I'm all hunched over and everything's kind of hurting. And I haven't taken any Advil today. I got a hair in my mouth. So, anyways, how's everybody doing? My name is Nicodemus King. I've done a couple of these before. Actually, I've done like several of these now. Actually, where I've kind of gone on here and I just talk. I just kind of talk and figure out what's going on in the world. Wow, that sucks. Can't hear myself for some reason. It's really weird. Hopefully, this is coming through in the audio. If not, then I'm going to lose a whole bunch of this. But I'm seeing the line on the screen, and when it's jumping, it usually means it's working. So there you go. But I usually come on here and we talk about different things that I've been kind of researching and trying to figure out exactly what it is. Mostly it's been on giants and, the Bible and books of the Bible that we haven't talked about or that people don't really talk about and all that stuff, and Enoch and all those things like that. This past week I haven't really done much. I've been out of work, so mostly it's been me coming down on the computer trying to find a job. And then after that, if I read, I read. If I don't, I don't. Been getting a lot of video game playing done. That's what you do whenever you're not working. You play games. I finally got done with Red Dead Redemption 2, thankfully. But I haven't really done much. There hasn't really been much. And I haven't really read much. It's just been kind of one of those weeks where I've kind of not hit the books as hard as I have been. Maybe I needed just a rest from the whole thing, I guess is what you could say. So, I've had a lot of time to reflect on some things and listen to some other theories that other people have put out on different things, and just generally just sit back and chill out. And so I think what I'm going to do, instead of going through all the stuff that I normally do, trying to figure out all the nonsense, I think I'm going to tell how I've got here. Go over the story again. Try to figure out exactly what made me get to this point. Because, man, I'm at a point where it's like you can't believe anything. It all looks crazy. None of it makes any sense, and it's just trying to put it into perspective. It boggles your brain and it hurts. It really, really hurts. And so yeah, let's take a step back and try to figure out what's going on. So before all of that, though, I just want to show you guys some interesting stuff I've got. We got this last weekend. It's going to be fun going through these, I'm sure. Of course, you've seen the Book of Jaxer, the big thing that I had. I got this from Half Price Books the other day for $10. It's the Apocrypha, the King James Apocrypha. So this is going to be an interesting read, to say the least. It's got some ones that I've heard different people talking about. So going through these should be pretty interesting. I don't know if it has too much of what I personally need, but it is what it is. And then I got this. This is Bible names. This is one that Rob Skiba suggested, and it's got some interesting stuff in it. This is basically every name that is in every name that's in the Bible and what the meanings of them are. Let me see if I can find a good example. We were talking about Og, or Og. I just want to call it that. Let's see what his name is, because I know his name was in here because I looked it up. Og, long-necked, a furrow, i.e. as long as a furrow, a circle, a hearth cake, Bread baked in ashes. So Og is the long-necked one. Now we heard that somewhere else too. Somebody was talking about him being the long-necked one. They were also talking about Og being the split-eyed. Apparently, when you write out his name in the old Hebrew, it comes out to an eye with a split or something. I don't remember exactly what it was. I just heard somebody had said something about it, and then I hear a story about Og had an eye ripped out of his head, and it's like, oh, okay, kind of makes sense in a way, you know. It is what it is. I don't know. Um, this says Noah says rest, comfort, or comforter. It's interesting. Oh, there's a second one. Motion, wandering, to move to and fro, to wander, to shake, to wag the head. Okay. But yeah, this is something to this is something to have. This is something interesting that I can play around with and see what's what. I don't know if this is the exact one I should have, but it is what it is. So I got it. But those are the only two that I found at half price books, and I'm going to have fun with those. What's that? Oh. I got some magazines and stuff too. I don't barely even read magazines anymore. But I figure if I sit here and just talk and try to rationalize this out and try to reason it out in my own mind, figure out where I came from, at least something that I could leave for my family to give them some kind of idea, because if there's anyone in my family gets online and looks at my videos and they see the video game stuff that I did and all that, they're like, okay, that's him. He's whatever. But then if they go into the biblical stuff, they go into the conspiracy stuff. I mean, some of them have known that I've been like that for a while. I've been a conspiracy guy for the better part of my life. But if any of them had heard me say, "Oh, there's giants in the world. Oh, there's giant trees, and all this other kind of stuff," they'd think I'm out of my mind. Half of them, I try to tell them about stuff like the Mandela effect or like certain shootings, stuff like that. They're just like, it's just stuff like that. So maybe going over it, just trying to figure out where I came from. Maybe we can figure out where I'm going. Maybe that's what we need, some reflection time. So I'm slowly approaching 42, which it doesn't feel like it at all. I've always said age is just a number, and honestly, this number doesn't really feel like it's much anything to me. It just feels like another day. Other than my body hurting a little bit more and my brain is going away a little bit more, even though since I've been reading and since I've given myself over to the Lord and all that, it feels like my mind's getting better. I've got the Wi-Fi on timers now. They go off around 11 o'clock at night. We go to bed at 9. But I keep them on until about 11 because if I'm on a weekend, I don't want to be going around turning all the crap back on and all this. About 11 o'clock is good enough. And it comes on right whenever we're waking up. And we've been sleeping really good. I've been sleeping all the way through the night. I haven't been waking up very much at all. Not too many crazy dreams. I've been having some weird dreams. The dream I had the other day was I had to take my head off and put it on a table so that I could shave properly. Man, that was weird. I don't know. Just weirdo stuff, but nothing too like crazy or wild. It's not like end of the world destruction kind of stuff. Just it was what it was. But that's kind of been how things have been going. My dog is right at the top of the stairs. It seems like every time I do this, and I think it's because I'm talking, because she thinks that every time we start talking, she has to be right in the middle of it. So that's what she's doing right now. She's upstairs right at the doorway because I'm talking and there's nobody else in the house. So she's getting a little freaked out. But yeah, well then come here. What are you doing? Come here. Come here. She's not gonna come down. Whatever. She's not gonna come down. If she does, she does. She'll probably sit up there and just bitch at me because she needs to do something. I fed her, so she doesn't need anything. So I'm slowly approaching 42, quickly, I should say, not slowly. And it doesn't feel like it. I had kind of that moderately traditional single kid upbringing. My parents split whenever I was very young. I went with my mom. She took me down to Florida. She was a teacher. Thankfully, she was a teacher. I thank her every day because she was the one that taught me how to think critically, not just follow the instructions, all that. She was actually one that taught me, well, if they tell you that it's this way, then ask yourself, why is it this way? She's pretty open-minded. I think that if I would actually sit her down and talk to her about stuff, she might understand. But I don't know. I don't know how her brain works. She's listened to me ramble on some other stuff, but she when I told her that I had made a spiritual change because there's certain people in the family that I kind of pretty much said I'm not going to have anything to do with. And then when I started going through this whole thing, I just started making that turn. And I was like, okay, I forgive him. It's cool. And now we're cool. We're talking, we're kind of hanging out. When I told her that I was hanging out with that person because I was making a spiritual change, she was like, oh, it surprised her. And that's, I think that's one thing I need to sit down and talk to her about because it's like, Mom, you gotta understand, it's it's almost completely different reality for me at this point. Literally, a completely different reality. But she was the one that taught me that, keep my mind open to different things. And of course, my dad, I got to spend time with my dad every year. Mostly on the seasons. And he was the one that, always taught me to kind of open my mind to everything. We did the whole thing with aliens, and he and I were the big X-Files guys, and we would sit and talk about stuff, and so that was where I got the open-mindedness to question the world, pretty much is what it was. So, that the seeds were always kind of planted there, when you grew up in the 90s, you watched the X-Files, you always questioned everything. I had friends that were the same way. We always kind of questioned everything. I had religious friends that were questioning things that I had not even. Looking back on it now, I'm like, man, they were so close to what I'm dealing with now. Either they were there and they weren't talking about it, or they could jump right over the edge and be there, And I look back on it now and I'm like, man, they were right there. They were talking about it. It wasn't like they were coming out straight up saying, the earth is flat and the entire world belongs to Satan and everything is evil and yada. They weren't saying that, but it's like now that I'm here where they were, and it's like, man, they were there. They were there. They knew it. They saw it. They were existing in it, and it's like that's something I know. I've said it somewhere before. I think that's part of what trusting in God and believing in God is that when he starts opening your eyes to the truth, he really opens your eyes to the truth, and he shows you the world, and it's like, and you're just like, wow, man. So now it's like, because of the questioning person that I was back then as a kid, Now it's like, I need more information. Just give me more. Just give me the truth about everything. Show me everything. Tell me what's going on because I cannot figure this out at all. And that's, kind of where I am now. But back then, we were just taking everything for what it was. My like I said, my mom was she kept that critical thinking part going, and I thought about everything the way it was, and it's so strange that when I think back to whenever I was a kid and was thinking back to all of the imaginations that I had, all the little things that I used to imagine things were like. Like I used to think that it's a couple crazy ones. No, and this is crazy. When I say it, it's like I can't. It's such a bummer. I can't prove it because most of the stuff I talk about stuff like this. We used to write down. We used to write like short stories. We used to write. We had this thing called a play, and it wasn't really a play. It was more like a movie script. My buddy Patrick started it, and then he handed it off to me, and then I kind of ran with it, and but it blew up into this thing where it was like this one thing that he did for like this Halloween contest for a radio show or so. I don't even know what the hell it was. It turned into this like 20 chapter epic that I had made, and it was this whole thing about aliens and time travel and all this stuff, and that I think there might have been some thoughts about people being lizard men or something because you had I was a child of the 80s. I watched that was a part of it. All aliens are lizard people and all this stuff, but I had all those things that I used to imagine are stuff that we look at now, and I'm like, oh, what in the world? Like I used to say that aliens can't come from outer space because they talk about them being so far away and all this stuff. I said, what if they've been here all along? What if they're underneath the surface of the earth? And what if they're there? And what if they were the ones that they were the ones that started this whole thing, and then they had to go underground and hide because of something or other and all this stuff, and now it's like you look at it, and the one thing I hear from Enoch is that the fallen angels created these giants and these Nephilim and all these weirdy things, and they had to be banished under the ground, and that these beings may be coming back up, and that all these grays we're seeing could be demons and all this stuff, and I'm like, this is something I was thinking about back in '93. How in the world do we get to this point? There was a while there, and I still think it could be possible. I don't know. I just had a conversation with a guy on YouTube because somebody left me a comment on YouTube about he was trying to tell me that it's not what I think it is. It could be the whole holographic world thing, and it's entirely possible. Anything's possible. I say that. I guess I should have said this right off top of the start, is that anything is possible. You don't have to believe me if you don't want to. Go out and find it for yourself. Anything I say, if you think you can prove it wrong, go out and read it and prove it wrong. And there you go. If there's something that sparks in your mind that could be right, then there you go. And, there are definitely options on how to open your mind up even more. Jesus Christ is one of them. But there's no judgment. There's no judgment here. I can't. I've told so many people that you're either going to believe, or you can't believe, or you won't believe. That's exactly what it is. It says it in the book, and I've believed that for a long time. You either cannot believe it because you're too into the system that you're going to be deluded no matter what you say, or you won't believe it because it's you don't want to see it. You don't want to see it. And that is what it is. You don't want to be a part of it. And that's It says it in the book. I was so amazed to hear that. I've been saying that for years, and it's in the Bible. It says people that don't want to see it will be deluded so that they can't, or people that want to live in this reality. They want to be a part of this. Come on, up, come on. People that want to be a part of this reality, they will be deluded to where they can't see the truth. Look at her. She is you are such a jerk. I know. But then there's going to be those people that don't want to have anything to do with it, and they won't believe it no matter how much you try. And that was just mind blowing. It was like, man, I've been thinking this stuff for years, and it's like it's confirmation for me. It really is confirmation for me. Come on, lay down. I know. But yeah, I was talking to him, and I was just kind of saying, it could be your way, it could be my way. It's just the way it is, or this very well could be all my construct. This could all be in my head, for all I know, because I've had thoughts since I was a little kid. I've had thoughts since I was a teenager. I've had thoughts since I was in my 20s. I have had thoughts since I was in my 30s that for some absurd reason are coming true now. I've had wants and desires that I've been able to get. Not the big ones, but a lot of small ones. No, maybe one big one. And I've had way too many deja vus. I've had way too many coincidences. I've had way too much stuff just kind of flow. It flows so much to the point that if I sat down and really thought about it, I could make it happen. And you don't have to believe that. There's, I've had talks with one of my brothers about the whole the phenomena. I don't know if you guys have heard about it, about going underneath street lamps and they turn off for you. Now, he's not the only one I've heard people say, but I've heard other people say it too. Well, those are on a they have heating elements inside them. Once they heat up for a certain time, they tend to turn off. Or they're on timers, they turn off. You just happen to be at the right place at the right time. And I was like, no, this isn't timing. This isn't because they're overheating. It's a phenomenon where people tend to notice it way more than other people. It tends to happen a lot. I used to be able to drive down Broadway in Muncie, Indiana, on my way home when I used to live down there, and I used to have 3 different lights that would turn off for me. They'd turn off for me on different days, different times, and it was like, I used to say whenever a light's turning off for me, it means I'm going the right way. It means I'm doing something right. So, my ex-girlfriend, I told her the story. It's just a thing that happens. And I told him to her, and she's like, okay, and then she started noticing it. She only noticed it whenever I was in the car. I'm not saying, man, okay, seriously, I'm not saying I got some kind of weird power that I'm turning the lights off. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is it's happened so much to the point, and I've put so much thought into it, and it's become such a thing that it's like, it's entirely possible this whole thing could be a construct in my mind. I'm not saying it is, because I couldn't even remotely think of anything this crazy. And anybody, I've even come up with these things that if anybody ever came up to me and told me, well, you can't make up my mind, I'd be like, no, because that's exactly what I would think you would say, is that I couldn't be able to make up your mind. I couldn't be able to make up your life. But how do you know up until that point that as soon as you said that to me, then your entire life was created for you in my head? You don't know that. You don't know. I think, therefore you is. Well, that's Robin Williams and Baron Munchausen, Adventures of Baron Munchausen. So I mean, it's a crazy thing to think. It really is, but I don't know. But I was this guy on YouTube was trying to say, well, that the entire thing is an energy matrix, and once you tap into the energy matrix, and you're able to manipulate the energy matrix, and you're able to, pretty much, I call it tuning. Dark City. Have you ever seen that? I call it tuning. Once you're able to tune, then you can get the world to do whatever you want. You can, focus your power. Come on, that's enough. Come on, move. Once you're able to do that, you can focus your power and then get it to do whatever you want. Did you guys see her bump my elbow? That could have been bad. Lay down. Come on, lay down. But it was just part of it was part of the conversation, and I said, well, if you're right, no. I think the way I said it was, if I'm right, and if I believe in God, and that God is opening people's minds, and that we're all going to be better off if we just do it this way, then we're good. We're fine. I also said, and if it's my construct, then I am thinking that God is a good thing, and that He will slowly be opening up people's eyes, the way that He opened my eyes up. So it's still a good thing, because it's a positive thing. It's not a negative thing. It's a positive thing. And I said, and if you're right, then I'm creating my destiny for me. Therefore, I'm creating a God that is a positive for other people. Therefore, I'm opening up people's eyes. So I said, you're winning either way. Why are you trying to change my mind? Right? You start changing my mind if I start thinking that I'm the creator of this universe, that I'm able to tap into energies and all this other kind of stuff in the universe. Then what happens if I turn bad? What happens if I had a bad day? It just goes bad. I'll tell you what, I've ever since I've been being a lot more positive, I've been having a lot better days. I really have. So, it was just kind of like one of those, it could go either way, and it still works. It still works for me. So, go tell that to somebody that I don't know, needs it more, I guess. I don't know. I just try not to tell it to somebody that is bad. Let's put it that way. But that's the part of it. That's going to be your path in life. This is my path in life, the way it is. It's not a path to God. It's just your path in life. Because I think that's just I think that's the way it is. I think that you're either going to see it or you're not going to see it. And I even heard something, I can't remember if it was today or if it was yesterday, some video. It was a pastor talking, and he's one of those that, he's a conspiracy guy, he's a religious guy, he's kind of an off the wall religious guy. So there's like, it's a couple things he was saying of stuff that I had read in the book that I'm like, I don't know if I could follow that or not. But something he said really stuck with me was, just to be able to have your eyes opened to the world, to knowing that, it's not, to knowing that the world is a beautiful thing, yes, but to know that there are evils in the world, there are evil people in the world, and that, it is what it is. Just having that knowledge, having your eyes open to it, is a blessing within itself, because God chose you to have your eyes opened to that. And it just kind of stuck with me. That was like, man, it makes sense. It makes sense that, all through my life, like I said, with all these little different things that I've thought about in my life, having my eyes open like that just kind of kind of fell into place. So it works out. It works out for the best. Go lay down. She's whining now. She had to wait until I started this so that she could start whining. She was perfectly comfortable laying up there on the couch until I started talking. Now she's all like, that's what she does. She's such a pain in my butt. The the second or third, I think it was like the third time I came over and stayed with Angie at her house. This is a little telling. This might be a little bit too personal. I don't know. Second or third time I stayed with Angie, dog ate my underwear. Rotten shit. Yeah, you don't have to listen to that if you don't want to. But yeah, so she's been up my ass ever since. She loves the hell out of me, but you know that she kind of told me my place that second or third night. But going back to the stuff I was saying, um, it all kind of flows to that point. Now we're gonna go into like details and stuff, because I I had most of that stuff in high school. Thinking about different things about how the world worked. Um, I always had questions about space and Earth and how things worked. I was a science kid. I was a big science kid. I was a big space kid. Uh, you lived in Florida. When you lived in Florida in the '80s, you were a space kid. You wanted to go to space camp. Every time they would launch a shuttle, it would be on PBS. You could watch the space shuttle. Um, every time I remember in like third and fourth grade, every time they would launch a shuttle, they would take us outside. They would take the entire school outside so that you could watch a space shuttle. Um, Especially a Challenger. That's the one that sticks in my head the most, and it's so weird too because that was the one where it seemed like the entire world stopped, and then we all went outside just so we could watch this one. And I know it's because of the teacher. I know it's because of the teacher. And that's the one that sticks in my mind more than anything else is that one because that was the one where they dragged us all out. And by that time we were like, man, we've seen space shuttle launches. They just go up and yada yada yada. Like I said, you live in Florida, you see them enough, you're just like, whatever. But yeah, that was the one that I remember, and I was in what was that, fourth grade? See, third or fourth grade? I think it was fourth grade. But we were out there watching it, and it didn't look right, and everybody thought it was weird and all this stuff. And I remember getting home, and my mom was crying, and it was just such a tragedy. And we just had that anniversary. Somebody said that anniversary just went past a little bit ago or something, and such a big thing. And it was what it was, and I was still a space kid. I wanted to go out there. You you constantly had every year we would have an astronaut. I remember like fifth and sixth grade. Uh, I don't remember if we had any in seventh or eighth grade, but I remember fifth and sixth grade. Both of those years, we definitely had astronauts come to the school to talk to us. They'd come in and they'd bring in like the little packets of Tang or whatever the hell they were drinking. They'd show us little things and they'd tell us stuff and all this, and that's what you did, and you wanted to go to space camp, and every time you went to Disney World, you'd do all the spacey stuff, and that's the kind of world I lived in because that was what you believed. That was my life. That's what I wanted. That was a part of it and all that. And so, but I always had questions. There was always this and this and that and that. And even as a kid, there were times where they would tell me something that I didn't like. I didn't really like the answer to. The small stupid ones were like, well, why is it that I throw a ball up in the air and it doesn't, wind up 10 feet away from me? Those are the stupid questions. I mean, there's a little bit of logic into that, but I understand from a globe perspective how it works. Again, I was a science kid. I was a space kid. I know how it works. I know how planets work. I know how it all works. It just don't make any sense now because it doesn't seem right. But yeah, I mean, I'd ask those kind of questions. I would ask, where's the limit to the atmosphere? Because I know I asked that somewhere along the line. Is that so? You say that this atmosphere that we have, it goes out to a point and then it just gets thinner and thinner and eventually just stops and there's a vacuum. I said, where's that point? It's because if there's a vacuum, then it should constantly be sucking all this air off of it. We cannot produce as much to be able to keep that going. And there's a video out now that it's this guy that he was anti-flat Earth, that he said he was going to go debate Eric Dubay. Go look that up. And he was having problems with the atmosphere. That was the one thing he was getting stuck on. He was like, why can I not figure this out? Why is it that there's you've got all this atmosphere that moves with the planet? Where's the cutoff point? And of course, you've got people that'll say gravity and friction and yada yada yada, and I've heard it all before, and it's like I had that problem when I was a kid, and I got that problem now. I got that problem 5 times worse now than I did as a kid. Oh, Nadia says hi. I'm sorry. I'm getting texts from Angie. She's such a rotten shit. Angie's daughter had a baby, and she's a cute little shit. She really is. But yeah, it's just it doesn't make any sense now. And I know there's going to be a scientist somewhere out there that can say, well, you just don't understand this because you're not a scientist. No, I'm not a scientist. Maybe I don't understand it. Psh, I could be wrong. I'm fallible. I'm a human. I'm fallible. I'm a man. I'm fallible. I can't say human. Don't say human. Human is like it's like a bad way of saying man. It's like a minus man kind of thing, It's a, I think somebody said it was a Greek word or something. It just takes away from what God made. God made man, and God made woman. Even woman is the lesser of a man. I'm sorry, girls, but that's what the book says. It's just, it is what it is. But we complement each other. And we exist with each other, and we are supposed to be harmonious with each other. That's it blows my mind when I hear atheists, or I hear fervent anti-Bible believers say, well, the Bible says that women are supposed to be this, 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 and that. And it's like, yeah, because women were seduced first, and because women, and I'm not saying this about all women, but the first woman, she was beguiled first. Therefore, you have to worry about it. And I think there's something more to that too. I know I may have said it somewhere along the line, but I think that evil is a feminine spirit. I think there might be something to that. I don't know. You take that as it is. If you don't like me anymore because of it, that's fine. I don't care. But going back to it, inside the book, what it tells about men and women is that we are supposed to love each other. Love each other as we would love ourselves. And when you get married, and that doesn't mean marriage with a ring, That means marriage, as in, I choose to take you before God and before everyone else. I choose to take you for mine. And it's going to be you and me when you get married and get together. Then you complement each other. You do what you're supposed to do to be together. A man treats a woman like she is perfect and queen, and a woman is supposed to treat her man like he is the king. It's you're supposed to do this harmoniously. It works together. A man cannot order his woman around. A man has to take care of his woman. That's what it is. That's what it's always been. It blows my mind. Just to hear that, to hear them say, "Well, woman can't do this, woman can't do this." Yeah, you're right. And because it's in the book that this happened, this is why it's like that. And again, I think there's more to it than that. Believe me if you want to, or don't believe me. I don't care. If it makes me look like a male chauvinist pig, then that's what it makes me look like. At this point, I can't apologize for everything anymore because honestly, I'm white and I'm male, and that apparently in this world makes it enough for me to be the most despised thing in the universe. So whatever. I can't hide behind anything anymore. I am who I am. If you don't like it, tough. You don't have to exist in my world. You don't have to exist in my world. But you can go off and exist in your world. That's fine. You can have your opinion. I can have my opinion. I think that's none of the biggest things that's wrong with everything is the fact that everybody thinks their opinions matter at this point. It's one thing to ask somebody to be nice and to do something for you. It's another thing entirely to force an entire populace to come down upon one person's head because of something that happened. That's my stance on some stuff, and I'm just gonna let that go. So, anyways, the whole space thing, having questions about, that why is a helicopter going straight up in the air and the Earth's pulling behind it, and I understand, the air goes with it and yada yada yada. That's fine. You can think that. You can think that if you want to. It doesn't matter. It honestly doesn't matter. I don't think it matters. And honestly, at this point, if I were to find out that it was all true, that the Earth is round and that everything's the way it is and all this space is out here and we were, we've been like this since the beginning of time. I'm not going to say for millions and millions of years because you cannot get me to believe in evolution anymore, period. It won't matter because flat earth brought me to a place where I'm doing much better in life. I really truly am. I'm not worried anymore. I wasn't really worried before, but now it's like, okay, show me something new, show me what's up. So that's where I am at this point. But that was through, I would say, up until maybe high school. By the time I got to high school, I just didn't care anymore. The education system is made to make you fail. I think I might have said that somewhere along the line, and it is. It's made to make you fail. They rush you from class to class to class. Each class being different from the other, and you never get to specialize in anything. You never get to think about anything. They just want you to go, pop, 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 and you never get a chance to really think about anything they told you. It's just cram it into your brain for 50 minutes, and then go to the next thing. And it doesn't get any better in college because then it's just at least you get an hour and a half to get some kind of cram into it. And it's. But when you're in college, you're constantly being bombarded with all of the pleasures of reality. and that just doesn't help at all. It really doesn't. So by the time I hit high school, I was like, dude, I'm done. That's it. I was pretty much acing everything I could. Um, I think all the way through eighth or ninth grade, I was pretty much AB honor roll. I was. I think the last time I got honor roll was eighth grade, and because I missed it by like one grade or something, and I was like, okay, whatever. I don't really care anymore because this isn't what I want. This isn't. I wasn't born to that world. I was starting to get really depressed. I started seeing the cracks. It's like, is this where I'm supposed to be? What am I supposed to do here? So it just became very. I started slipping into bad places. Put it that way. I really started going in bad places, in bad ways. So I don't really remember too much. I remember some things from freshman year. I don't remember any of my sophomore year. I could have I could have killed somebody my sophomore year for all I know because I don't remember it. It wasn't that I was doing drugs or drinking or anything like that. I just don't remember it. And we didn't really even do drugs or drink or anything like that because we didn't even know where to get it. There was nobody in our classes that was talking about it. We didn't really talk to anybody anyways because we were considered the outcasts of the school. There was like a group of like five or six of us, and we were the outsiders. That's who we were. And so we didn't know. We wouldn't have known where to get it from anyways. My mind was in so many other places. I just was not focused on anything. I was just so disappointed in life. It just sucked so bad. I just wanted out. All I wanted was out. I honestly think if I wasn't ready for it back then because I remember denying the advances of my religious friends fervently because I was not ready for it. They tried to tell me. They told me some things. They tried to give me pamphlets and tried to, invite me to some stuff, and I just like, no, I don't want that. I'm not there yet, or I don't want that. At that point in time, I was like, screw it. At that point in time, I was like, if there is a God, he did this to me, and screw him. I feel so bad for that now. I really do. But I think that's the path that I took. And I got so down on myself. It's like my entire high school career was just terrible. And I think a lot of that was on me. I think I kind of did that to myself. I really did. So I do all that, and I go to college because I didn't know what to do. I was just following whatever at that point because it was like, okay, what do I do now? And everybody kept saying college, so I went to college. And college was, Dad called it playtime. That's what it was. It was playtime. So I didn't accomplish anything in college except for racking up debt. That's all I did. I lasted 2 years, 4 semesters, 2 years before I failed, before I flunked out because I was staying up all night and smoking pot with my friends and being stupid. But the entire time, I still kind of had those critical thinking moments. It's like, why does the world do this? Why does the world do that? Why am I putting up with this nonsense? And there was still, even though I reinvented myself in college, I still just was not in a good place. So I failed out of college, went back home for a while, and then came back up. My great grandmother passed away, moved into her house, or moved into her trailer. She had a single wide trailer. Moved into her trailer so I could take care of the trailer for the family. And that was when I had a lot of time to start reflecting. That was when a lot of my a lot of my bad stuff started coming out. And a lot of these thoughts, a lot of these feelings, shoo, man. There's a lot of stuff I wrote down, a lot of really sick, demented, twisted shit I wrote down. Um, I've lost a lot of that. What my hard drive failed. I don't even know where. I can't get that information anymore for some reason. I don't know why. I've tried 20 million different, data recovery things. I just can't do it. It's all on Notepad TXT files, and it just won't pull it up. But I've lost so much of that, and it was just a really dark place. It really was. Went through that. Had a girlfriend, my ex-girlfriend. Spent 8 years with her. Got her to a better place, and the entire time she was just screwing me over. Whatever. Well, I don't hold any grudges on that anymore. If she were to call me up tomorrow, I'd be like, "You are forgiven." It doesn't really matter, It just in the grand scheme of things, it is what it is. You got to where you're getting, I got to where I'm getting. So there you go. So, right around that time, actually, it was before that. It was before her. I was living by myself, and of course, it was 2000. Right after my friend died. He died August 10th of 2000. So a year after that, you got September 11th, and I remember exactly where I was that day. I was sleeping. I was sleeping. I was working a second shift. I didn't have to wake up till noon. And so I wake up at noon and I get a message on the machine from my mom. And she's saying something like, I don't know what's going to happen for what's going on this morning. I just wanted to tell you I love you, and I don't really remember what it was. I wish I would have saved the tape, but we threw that machine out, so that's gone. I think I even erased it, so we wouldn't be able to know what it was. But I remember waking up. I remember waking up and turning the TV on. It was noon, like I said, and it was regular programming. I think back then I could only get like 2 or 3 stations. PBS wasn't doing it. PBS had Sesame Street. Fox had I Love Lucy. CBS had, was it Family Feud? I think it was Family Feud. I don't know what it was. And I couldn't get ABC. So, it was like, if anything's happening, I don't know. I can't find it. I said, maybe I'll hear it on the radio on the way to work. Whatever. So I get ready to go to work. And on the way up, the first thing I see, there's nobody talking about it on the radio either. I'm even flipping through stations. There's nobody talking about it on the radio. And I'm like, well, okay, whatever, sure. That's fine. And so I passed by a gas station, and this gas station is selling gasoline for $6 a gallon. It was one of those where it was gouging prices because they thought it was the end of the world. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe I ought to think about this for a second here, but I can't spend $6 a gallon gas. Thankfully, I filled up like 2 days before, so I was okay. But I was like, oh shit, there is something going on. So I'm like doing AM stations. I'm trying to figure out what's going on, and I can't find anything. So I get to work, and they're talking about it at work. And I'm like, what happened? They said, well, these skyscrapers, they didn't even call them the towers back then. They were just like these skyscrapers in New York. They fell down, and these planes hit them and they fell down. And I'm like, oh, okay. So the entire time at work, I'm not really thinking about it. I'm just kind of like these they fell down at work. Okay, what or they fell down? These planes hit them. I before that, I had kind of known that, planes have hit towers before, or have hit skyscrapers before. I kind of knew that, It's like, I know that, man, but, they don't fall. It's not a thing. So I get through work, and I get home, and so I turn the TV on at home, and I'm getting ABC really, 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 really crappy signal, but it was enough that they were replaying it, so I got to see it. And because my judgment was already at the point of like, that's not possible, I saw it. And this is how my conspiracy thing starts. I didn't see the plane. I didn't see the planes. I just saw both the buildings just come straight down, and I'm like, well, that's controlled demolition. I said, that doesn't happen. That's controlled demolition. Somebody pulled those things down. I said, that doesn't, you don't fly it. It's not, even in movies, it doesn't happen whenever somebody cracks the top of a skyscraper to the top just falls off. That's all that is. You don't, that doesn't fall down like that, man. That's not possible. But I sat there watching it, and it was like, it doesn't look right. But I went with it. I thought it was a little weird the next day that they made us stop during work, and made us go out and salute the flag. I thought that was really weird. It was like a moment of remembrance that we had to go out and salute the flag because of somebody driving planes into buildings. And I was like, okay, now this is a little weird. This is, it was this whole patriotic thing. Like the next day, like, oh, you gotta go worship America now because, it's. So it just, my whole experience with it was really weird, and I never really thought about it. It was just kind of like, this is just a weird kind of thing, man. I don't know. This is like JFK, because teenager in the 90s, you watch JFK, you're not going to think it's, X-Files stuff. Like I said, so the seeds were planted for me not to think the way that other people think. So I just thought it was really weird. I was like, what the hell is this? So, we go through this whole thing. And I didn't think about it for a long time. It just kind of was in one ear and out the other because I just had to worry about getting money, had to worry about work, and I finally got a decent job where I could go off and do my thing, and met my ex-girlfriend, and we spent time together, and yada yada yada. I remember a guy at the place I was working at. He was from New York. Bigger than I am now. You can tell me I'm a big dude, but this guy was huge. He was a New Yorker. He's like, man, you have those guys come in. They're gonna fly their planes into my towers. I'll get them sons of bitches. And this was like a year or two after this whole thing. 2003, 2002, 2003, and it went along with that whole patriotic thing. It was just like, man, it was being forced down your throat, and people were really, And I just remember a lot of it was just like, okay, it's a bit much, I get Pearl Harbor when that happened. We were like, let's go kill the Japs, whatever. But this was on levels that I couldn't even remotely think of, and it was weird because we had never been through a thing like that. So you fast forward to about, oh man, 2005. 2005, give or take, they did the PBS special on why the towers fell. Now, I wanted to know because, again, when I saw them before, it just didn't make any sense to me. And I hadn't been on the internet. I hadn't been looking at any conspiracy things. I didn't know any conspiracy things. But I watched that, and they're talking about these things pancaking down. They didn't really tell about why in the world the main support column in the middle didn't stay up, why it decided to go down with it and all that. And, they were talking about jet fuel being this hot to be able to melt steel and and all that. And I'm probably going to get a strike for this. I'm either going to get a strike for this, or they're going to like completely take this off because it's considered bad stuff. Because YouTube now has a thing where they're not blocking the videos. They're taking it off the search algorithms, because apparently questioning anything now it's terrorism, or it's bad. I guess I don't know. So you talk about 9/11 Sandy Hook or flat Earth, then they're going to take your videos because we can't question this. You're not supposed to question it. No. We can talk about JFK because that was so far back that nobody really cares, but apparently, new stuff, we can't talk about it. So I watched that thing, like I said, and it just didn't make sense. I even recorded it. I have it on a tape in this room somewhere. I recorded it because I needed to know, and the what they gave me didn't seem to work right. I was still like, it's controlled demolition. I've seen what controlled demolitions look like. I've watched a lot of movies. I've watched a lot of TV shows. I've watched a lot of PBS shows. That's not what it looks like. It doesn't look right. So I think that was about the time whenever I started looking into it. And of course, once you give 9/11 more than an hour's worth of thought, I think it does something to you. I don't know. You either see it or you don't. But I saw it, and I'm like, wow. Then you hear about World Tower 7 or Trade Tower 7, whatever it is, and it's like, oh, there was a third building. Oh, wow. It didn't get hit by a plane, but apparently got hit with just enough fire that it fell down perfectly. I love the fact that if you watch videos of World Trade Center 7 fall, the bottom falls before the top does. That's so great. I love it. It's just so beautiful. Then you hear about the BBC reporter that was talking about it before it fell, and this would have been about 2007, 2008. Right around the time whenever YouTube was kind of a thing, was kind of there, So I was like, the first videos on YouTube I remember were probably conspiracy videos, and I was like, okay, there it is. But I didn't pay any attention to it because I was too busy doing other stuff. I was too busy trying to live my life. I was looking for a job, looking for this, looking for that. I couldn't really do much with it, so it didn't really. I couldn't do anything with it. It's like, I know something that you guys don't know, but you guys won't listen to me. So I can't really tell you what I'm thinking about. It's just kind of there, but I can't really do anything with it. So I left my girlfriend. Actually, September 11th has been a pretty interesting day for me throughout my entire life. I know I talked about this before. My PlayStation 3, I bought September 11th of 2009. And then the next year, I didn't plan this. I had known she was cheating on me pretty bad, and I needed to get away from her. I really needed to get away from her. And a lot of the girls at work were like, just leave, just go. Just pack your stuff up and leave. Don't even leave her a note. Don't do anything. I was like, well, I don't know. They were like, no, you're going to do it this weekend. You said she's getting out of the house. She's doing something. Just pack your stuff up and go. So I'm like, okay, fine. That was a Saturday, September the 11th of 2010. God. I've had other days too. It's just been it's just one of those days. It just happens. I don't know. It's weird. So that happens, and then of course on December what was it? Was it December the 16th or the 6th, something of that year, 2010? You get Sandy Hook. Now, I know school shootings. When Columbine happened, Mom called up and she freaked because she did not know what to think about it. Now Columbine, when it happened, it kind of hurt. I kind of felt it a little bit. I mean, it could be fake, I don't know, but there was just something to it that really just bugged me because those kids were us. That was our group. They were the kind of people that we were. We weren't the kind that were going to go out and kill people, and that's probably something that could be used against me in a court of law. So, oh well, he just admitted that he could go out and shoot people. You just watch. I'd get framed somewhere. Somebody goes off and kills everybody, and then they blame me, and they're like, "Well, see, he told you he could do that." No, I'm not like that. The only person I ever really wanted to kill was myself. But those when that happened, I kind of felt that personally because that felt like it was a thing, and I part of me really felt for the kids. There was something to it. And we had heard about other different smaller school things and all this stuff. But so Sandy Hook happened, and of course I don't watch news. I was living by myself. I moved back into my great grandmother's trailer. Was living by myself. I don't even think I had cable back then. I had a new TV. Just bought myself a new TV, and I had a whole bunch of games and stuff. But I wasn't watching cable. So I got into work. I was working a third shift then. I got into work and they had it on the television. They were talking about it. It was like the morning before. Was it? Or was that afternoon? That might have been afternoon. Might have been afternoon. They were just finishing up talking about it. And they were talking about this school shooting. And I was like, oh, okay. And I'm listening to it. And it's going through and they're doing the now famous aerial photos of it. I think I was on second shift, so it would have been about 11 o'clock in the afternoon, I think is what it was. And so it would have been a little bit after it. But they were talking about it, and they were showing the aerial stuff, and they were going through the whole thing and talking about it, and it just... something in the back of my head just said, that doesn't look right. That's not right. I don't know, man. You shouldn't invest too much time into that, or invest too much into what it was, And I was like, it doesn't feel right. I can't feel anything on this. I can't feel it. It doesn't feel like anything's happened here. I don't know why. It's like the Challenger disaster. My mom was in the living room crying, and I just couldn't feel it. It didn't hurt, It's like it's not like I'm asympathetic. It's just I couldn't feel anything there. It just didn't feel right. Well, trade centers came down. I felt that, man. There was a disturbance in the force. It wasn't because of when it happened, because I was asleep. Like I said, it was after it happened. I was like, man, a lot of people died there. That hurts. That sucks. It really does. Just like Columbine, I felt that. I really did. But Sandy Hook, I couldn't feel it. It just didn't. They're talking about little kids. Like, what, 6, 7-year-old kids, 8-year-old kids? It wasn't there. And I'm just like, why am I not feeling this? Why is this not a thing? This doesn't feel right. So I'm in there working, and I've got girls, I've got women that are working down from me, beside from me, and they're crying. They're bawling. They're crying tears. And I'm like, why am I so different here? Why can I not feel that? Am I that unfeeling of a prick that I can't feel this? So I'm like, well, okay, I got to look into this apparently, but I didn't have internet at the time, so I couldn't do it. So I just kind of started listening to as much news as I could, just trying to put the pieces together. And they were making this whole thing where it was this and that and all this stuff. And of course, CNN was the big one that was covering it. And I'm like, I don't like CNN. They've never been very trustworthy on anything ever. They're going through the whole deal, and I'm just like, well, whatever. So I finally get internet. I had to get internet because I wrecked my car. I didn't have a car, so I saved back as much money as I could. And I said, well, the only way I'm going to be able to find a vehicle is if I get internet, because the papers aren't doing me any good. I can't find anything that's less than $1,000, because it wasn't even like 3 or 4 years before that they did the whole, cash for junkers program, where they killed the entire used car spectrum. used to be able to get a car for $800. You know, some little junky ass car nobody's driven in a while is probably really good. You could probably go in there, start it up, drive it off, $800. There you go, you're done. Cash for clunkers killed it. At the time, late 2000s, you were lucky if you could get a used car anywhere for $1,500. I got lucky. I found a total piece of crap for $1,000. But I got the internet on. That let me get back onto YouTube. That let me start looking at stuff. I started looking at 9/11 again. I started looking at Sandy Hook. I started looking at, just different things that were happening because it would seem like the entire Obama administration there was something happening every 5 seconds. You can do the math on that crap. It's like one big thing happens during Bush and like 8 billion things happen during Obama, and it's how much stuff we've had happen during Trump? One thing, maybe two. That tells you something right there. Shit. I'm not saying he's a saint. I'm not telling you that he's sent by God for anything, but when a great majority of the politicians don't like somebody, you gotta start thinking you might want to go like them. I don't know. That's just me. But anyways, I started looking into the stuff, and I'm like, okay, there's something there. There's really something there. So I wind up getting together with Angie. I moved down here to Indianapolis, and I'm like pouring myself into conspiracy stuff, looking at stuff, going into it. I was one of those that got a hold of all the Sandy Hook, the police reports, listening to the 911 calls. I spent so much time looking through that crap, and there was nothing in there whatsoever that told me that any part of that was real at all. Now, of course, by this point, I'm inundated with 9/11 stuff, so we're not even going to go into that anymore. We already know 9/11's a done deal for me. So it's like, all the Sandy Hook stuff. I'm like, oh, God, it's just not there, man. It's not real. It didn't happen. This was all part of a thing. And then you got, what was it? The Boston bombings popped, and it was like, it doesn't look real either. It doesn't seem right to me. You start giving that a little bit of time, and you're just like, and okay. I don't want to come on here and say, well, all of it was real. You have to look into it, because I already said you can't just say that. You can't just say, well, it wasn't true, and if you don't look into it, then you're just an idiot, because I can't say that. What I want to say is there are too many problems with the stories that are told about them. There are too many inconsistencies with the details. The biggest problem I have is we don't listen to eyewitness reports anymore. That really sucks. When you talk about Pearl Harbor, you go and you talk to the guys that were there, and they will tell you the story, and that's how we have the story. You talk about 9/11, we don't go to the people that were sitting on the street. We are told to follow what the government says, what the FBI said, what the CIA said. Talk about Sandy Hook, we don't go to the witnesses that were there. We're going by what the police told us that was supposed to happen. Boston bombings is the same thing. We're not told by the witnesses what happened. We're told what the police told us was going to happen. That's a problem. That creates a police state. Is when we can't believe eyewitness accounts, that we have to be told what we're supposed to think. It doesn't work. I know, kid, and I will get you. You give me 30 minutes, all right? Go lay down. Give me 30 minutes. She's getting testy. So You don't have to. You don't have to believe me. You don't have to believe me that anything I say. You don't have to believe me. You can make up your own mind on it. And honestly, my opinion shouldn't affect your life. It really shouldn't, because you're going to believe what you want to believe. You're going to live your life the way you want to live your life, and I'm going to go on to live my life the way I live my life. And I'm going to keep that opinion, and you're going to keep your opinion, and we're all going to be whatever. So you see how she sat down? You like that? She's gonna sit there and whine. Is what she's gonna do. But she's gonna do it for 30 minutes. So I got 30 minutes. So I gotta make this quick. But you can believe whatever you want to believe, because, like I said, you're either gonna see it or you're not gonna see it. And I think it's purposely like that. I think we're only certain people are supposed to see it. So you know, I don't know. And I'm going to try not to say you have to look into it. You don't have to look into it. You really don't. Um, if you do, man, it it blows your mind. It really blows your mind to think of why it would be done in the first place, and then why why they would choose to do it to us. Pretty messed up when you get down to it. So yeah, you got that, and then you got the Boston bombing, you got the Miami shooting, you got the shooting in the Batman movie. Um, the Batman movie didn't feel right to me. Um, it didn't feel fake, but at the same time, didn't feel real. I don't know. That was a weird one. The Miami shooting, I don't know. By then, I was kind of just like, it's fake. I didn't follow it. All I had to do was watch like two videos, and everybody was saying, "Well, this is this, that's that." It's like, yeah, I don't want to get into it, because you get into it, you get too far into it, and you're just like, look, I spent I spent almost 2 years of my life researching all the Sandy Hook footage and all the stuff, and I'm like, it's fake, but I can't. What am I going? Who am I going to tell? How am I going to tell you? How am I going to tell you? Hey, look, I see something here, and if you can't see it, then you can't. It's just So I don't know, but it's just that's kind of how this whole thing started snowballing. It's one thing after another starts snowballing, and then I walked away from it because I said, look, this is leading me down some dark paths. It's leading me down some paths where I am starting to think I can't trust anybody anymore. And Angie was having problems with me following that stuff, because I'd bring it back to her, and her eyes are half open, and it was really starting to bother her, and I was like, okay, I gotta stop. That was whenever I started going back into video game stuff, started watching video game stuff on YouTube and all this and everything. Every now and then I would sneak a conspiracy thing in there just to see what people were saying, and just kind of let it go, and then I'd go back into the video game stuff. And then that good old flat earth popped up again. Now, back in 2010, somebody had mentioned it. It was a little tiny blurb, and I remember joking with my ex-girlfriend about it, because I was telling her about 9/11. I was telling her about all this stuff, and I said, oh, by the way, somebody says the earth's flat. It's yeah, whatever. And we just kind of went on with it. So it snowballs. We get up to about the time whenever I was able to start doing data entry stuff. I was able to actually sit down and have my headphones on, listening to YouTube, and so I got back into 9/11 for some reason, because there was some new thing. I guess loose change came out or something. I don't know what it was. I think it was the anniversary of something. This 2011. Is that right? No, it's not right. Something came up. Something happened. Something new with it happened. I don't know what it was, and I started listening to it again. And I was listening to Sandy Hook stuff again. I was listening to all that, and that flat Earth popped up, and I'm like, okay, all right, I will give it 5 seconds. So I gave it 5 seconds, and it was dumb. It was the stupidest thing. The stuff the guy was talking about, I was like, well, that can be done by doing this, or you don't see this because of that, you don't do this because of, I was like, whatever, man. So I put it away. I said, man, come on now, and it was like about a month later, it popped up again. And I'm like, come on, whatever. And, by this time, I was so beat down by 9/11 and Sandy Hook and the Boston bombings and all this. I'm like, it would figure if they were hiding it from us. At this point, it would figure. But I said, look, I can disprove it because I've been there. I'm a science guy. I could do this. So I watched a video. I think the first actual video I watched was either Mark Sargent or Eric Dubay. I think it was Eric Dubay. And it was like the second or third, it was like one of those, 100 questions about the earth or whatever it was. And like the second or third question he had was, why is it that a helicopter, when it takes off, why is it whenever it takes off, the earth doesn't flow underneath them? And I was like, hey, I asked that question when I was a kid. Okay, I mean, man, they're asking questions, but it's because all the air is flowing with us. And then somewhere along the line, he starts saying, well, then why is it that the air, where's the cutoff for the air? For the atmosphere, atmosphere, whatever you want to call it. I'm still saying atmosphere. I'm still using the same jargon that we've been using for years because it's hard to change your mind. But he's still talking about where's the change? Where does the vacuum start and the air stop? Because vacuums are pretty dangerous things. And I'm like, okay, well, I was thinking about that when I was a kid too. Okay, so I started listening to him, and it just kept going, and it was like, okay, yeah, okay, but this is this and this is that. Surely not everything is like this. So I started listening to it. I started doing the whole watching the videos where they would take the camera and then zoom in on ships, and I'm like, son of a bitch, that's a thing. And I know that's a thing because we used to live in Florida. You could go out on the dock at Fort Myers Beach and you could look across the water and see Sanibel Island. Now, Sanibel Island for Fort Myers, I know it's not that far away, but you could see it. And it's fairly perfect from down there. And I know somewhere along the line, we've taken a telescope. Not us taking a telescope, but I think they used to have telescopes down there. They've had something down there where we used to do that, where we used to look over the water and be able to bring something back over the horizon, And it's like, I know we've done that. I've been there. I've done that. I've done that on both sides of the ocean. I've been out in the middle of Lake Okeechobee, Florida, where it's perfectly still, flat water. It's only about 6 or 7 feet above the above the floor. You could, on the dry seasons, you could walk across Lake Okeechobee, but you can see on clear days the other side of Lake Okeechobee. Now Lake Okeechobee is what, 8-9 miles long, and they told me what the calculation is for the curvature of the Earth, and I'm like, you shouldn't be able to see that. And it didn't make sense. And it blew my mind. And I'm like, okay, but still, surely it's only because it's big. It's only because it's too big. It's not because of this. It's not because of that. It's only because it's too big. So it kept going like that, and I finally got to the point to where I was like, okay, I think I can. I even admitted it on like Facebook or something. I said, you know what? I can admit that there's a 50-something% chance probability that I could believe the Earth was flat, but I don't. And then the first thing I got was, well, if you did that, you're an idiot. I'm like, okay, well, there you go. That's exactly what they said was going to happen. So, if somebody's saying that, then hey, maybe I'm on the right track here. Because I will always do something. If somebody even remotely thinks that that they can get one over on me. I'm like, okay, fine. Then I will either prove it right or I'll prove it wrong. And if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But if I'm right, then shit, he kissed my ass. So I was like, okay, fine then. I guess I'm on the right track. So I kept going, and it's just a little bit more. And the big questions I kept asking, the biggest ones were like, stars. How does everything work with the stars? How does everything work with the sun? Why is it that when you're in Australia, everything's circling around the Southern Cross and all this stuff, and it's just one thing after another that the questions are finally being answered for me. They're being answered for me. Every time I had a question, it's answered. It's like, well, it's entirely possible that if you put a fish bowl over the top of you put a fish bowl down. How did the guy do it? He had a bowl. He had a curved dome bowl. He had water over top of it and a fish bowl over top of that, and he had a camera up underneath it, and he had like a star field or something. And he was twisting it, and the camera was shooting up, at an angle towards the outer edge, not straight up, but out. And as he was turning it, it was twisting around because there's something in the reflection of the water. I don't remember how exactly it worked, and it was like, okay, well, I guess I am now 87% sure that I could believe that the Earth was flat. So, of course, I got more jokers, coming out saying, then you're just a moron, man. How could you even think that? I lost a lot of friends. I really did. I had a lot of people completely drop me from Facebook. But by then I wasn't even thinking about friends anymore. I was just thinking about the truth. I was just thinking about, man, this is it. The more and more I get into this, the more and more it seems real. Excuse me. The more and more it just seems real, the more and more it seems like a thing. So it's like, and it's slowly breaking me apart. So I'm still going through this, and lo and behold, Mandela effect slapped me right in the face. Now, all this stuff, again, if you don't know what it is, you can go, if you go Google it, at least go 4 or 5 pages into Google before you even, because you're going to, it seems like every time you search anything out anymore, it tries to hide it. But Mandela effect, man, Mandela effect cracked me in half. Absolutely cracked me in half. Before I even remotely admitted that I am a flat earther, Mandela effect killed me. Just destroyed me. I was like, okay, it's one thing whenever you do the whole, well, Luke Skywalker, and thinking that certain things were said a certain way and all this stuff, but when it came to stuff that we had said for years and years and years and years and years, when it came to stuff that I had known for years and years and years and years and years, to hear other people outside of the source say that it was like that for years and years and years, I was like, are you kidding me? And it wasn't. Somebody said it perfectly. It's not like, you mishear the words of the song and somebody corrects you and you're like, okay, whatever. It's not like that. It's not like, you say a line in a movie, which I do a lot, and I misquote it, and you hear it, and it's like, okay, whatever. It's not like that. It's like you hear it, and it's something that you've known for years upon years upon years, and it kicks you right in the balls. It really hurts. It's like, it's right here. It's like, oh, man. And for a long time, I was like, well, surely it's nothing. Surely it's nothing. It's just, our mind isn't thinking right. And then I finally got smacked in the head with the Laurel and Hardy, which, if you don't know what the Laurel and Hardy Mandela effect is, that's another fine mess you've gotten us into. I said that for years and years and years. My friend Danny. I said it years and years and years. My friend Robbie. That's what I used to say. It's another fine mess you got us into. Then I find out that was never said. I think they said it once. They said it once in a movie, and it wasn't even in the movie called Another Fine Mess. And I'm like, wait, what? And my brain is even like going crazy right now thinking about it. But apparently the movie was called Another Fine Mess, but they said it's another nice mess you've gotten us into. And I'm like, I never said that. I never said that. They never said that. What the hell is this? And then it starts it cracked me open like a fucking egg, man. It just cracked me right in half. Just tore me down. And I'm hearing about all this stuff, and I still swear to this day that I saw the Flintstones, like Flintstone cereal. I saw the spelling of that change like overnight. Like it was one thing one night, and then I swear I came back to it the next day and it flipped back. I could have just been extremely screwed by that point, but by then you still have 20 minutes. You're gonna give me 20 minutes. Shush. By then I was like, by then I was crying. I mean, I was literally, I was in this room crying. This was like 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, 3 years ago. And I was just like, why? Why is this happening? What is going on? Why is this like this? So I started hearing that. I started hearing that the only other thing that was affected besides movies and breakfast cereals and and all this other kind of stuff, the only thing that was really being affected was the Bible. And I was like, why? Why would that be a thing? Because I thought Christians were harmless. I mean, sure, the die-hard Christians. I used to have a quote. I don't have a problem with Christians, or I don't have a problem with Jesus. I just have a problem with his fan club. That's what it was, because there's a lot of really die-hard Christians out there that they will go out there and they will judge you up one side and down the other, because that's what they think they're supposed to do. And I don't think that that's how it's supposed to be. You're not supposed to be judgmental. You're supposed to, when you see it, you're supposed to tell somebody the word. And I think that they can take it as it is, but you're not supposed to be judgmental about it. Not the way that they were judgmental about me, because man, I had so many deeply religious people that I even knew and really really liked, that would just down on me because I wouldn't believe what they believed. So but I was like, why is that being affected? Why is that a thing? So I pulled out the Bible that I've had, and my friend Patrick gave me, and there was a couple different things that had changed in there, but not enough. Not enough for me to be like, because again, I don't have a King James version. The one I have is just standard revised, so it's not changed in there. So I was like, maybe they're just talking like this, but there's still something there because I'm still cracked in half. It is what it is. So I was like, well, this whole Mandela effect is a thing. So I just have to keep my eyes open, listen to other people, listen to it talk. As I'm doing the Mandela effect thing, Flat Earth just keeps pounding me in the face over and over and over. They're just pounding me in the face. And that's whenever I came around to Rob Skiba. And Skiba, when he talks about Flat Earth, he talks about Flat Earth from a biblical perspective. He starts talking about all these books that I've never heard of before, Enoch and Jasher and all this other kind of stuff. He starts talking about all this stuff is in the Bible. You just have to look for it, all this. And I'm like, that makes sense. It all kind of tied together, that whatever's been happening in the world has been lying to us about all these different things that they've been doing to us, manipulating us, that the world doesn't seem like what it is. And for me, especially since I was a teenager and never has, to finding out that there are all these changes that we can't really predict anymore, and there's reasons why they're doing this, and there's a book that explains it, and it all clicked. It all just started flowing together, and it was right before my 40th birthday that I put out a thing that said, I officially believe that the earth is flat. And I had one friend that he asked me like two or three different questions because he couldn't believe it was me. Because it was because he and I had talked about so many other things. He was a Satanist. He used to live right beside me, and he just couldn't believe it. He was like, what the hell? So that just kept building, and I was so broken by then. I was so beat up and broken and just done, and so just, and I got to the point, uh, on my 40th birthday, I just felt terrible. I didn't want to have a birthday because I just felt like, ugh. But we had a birthday. Uh, Angie dragged me back into town. I had some friends come out. We got drunk. And I think it was the last time I really got drunk. I think it was the last time I really drank like that. Or no, I think it was Halloween that year whenever we did the Emily Wants to Play. No, was it the year before? I don't know. Anyways, it's all a blur. Like I said, it's a blur. But but I say it was exactly 7 days after my 40th birthday. I don't know for sure. It could have been. I think it was 3 days after I finally stopped and prayed to God to help put me back together. But I do know it was a couple days after that where I felt it. It really felt like it was happening. Something was happening to me that was I was being lifted back up. The pieces were being put back together. And I was it just felt like I was being better than what I was. Now, I went for a year. I went for a year with, you know, believing that I was better off than I was, not really diving down into it the way I have been, just I knew I was better, and I there was a lot of stuff that was changing that I look back on and I think, yeah, I was changing. There were things that I was doing differently. I was starting to be better. I was starting to talk a little bit better. I was starting to just act better. I think that was part of the process until finally I got to the point to where I was like, I really need to start looking into it. I need to start reading into it. I need to start reading it. I need to start doing it. Angie's stepfather, he was pointing me on paths, trying to show me where to go with it. And I think I know he's got his own philosophy on things, and I think I've hurdled him 5 times by now on my philosophies. I don't know. I haven't really sat down and talked to him. We're going to have a talk about Christmas here soon, I'm sure. But it kept going like that, going like that. I was like, okay, well, let me read into this. Let me do this. Let me do that. And then eventually it just became, okay, I'm going to pour myself into this, and that's where I'm going to be, and I'm going to figure this out. I got to find out because there's got to be some truth to this. Got to be some truth to this because I've been lied to about just every damn thing ever. That's been the one key thing about this whole deal is it just feels like everything has been a lie. Just the reason that we're going to school, or that we have the things that we do, the reason that we go to school, the things that they teach us in school, the events that have happened in the world. You don't have to believe that the Challenger was just a bullshit, that something blew up, sure. But when you look at the pictures of the people that they have found that have the same name and they look exactly like the people that were on that ship, it makes you think. If it's not, then it's a hell of a coincidence. But you know what? I don't believe in coincidences anymore. I haven't believed in coincidences since I was like 18 years old. But you know, 9/11 just does not look right. Sandy Hook doesn't look right. Boston bombings don't look right. It doesn't look right. It doesn't look right. It doesn't feel right. There's too many inconsistencies with it, and it's a lot more of you're going to believe what we tell you instead of we're going to let other people tell us what was there, what happened. And that's the problem. That's what I see. That's what I see. And this moves into everything in the world. This we're talking about like weather manipulation, and we're talking about like the crap they put in the foods and GMOs and taking away guns. Just the whole deal. Once you start branching out from there, once it starts getting snowballed, you're just like, wow. That's why I said you got to walk away from it. And that's what I've done for the past week. I've stepped away from it. I sat, played some games. I tried looking for a job and trying to put it all into perspective. Just trying to. I'm just trying to live, just trying to get through it, trying to make sense of all of it. Because man, there's a lot of it doesn't make any sense anymore. This whole mud flood thing has opened up a whole new realm of really messed up possibilities. They're not telling us something. That's the biggest thing, is they're not telling us something. It seems like everything that's happened in our entire life is just this one thing that it doesn't feel right. It's like it's right there, and you know what it is. It's ingrained in us all. You know what it is, but you just can't touch it. You can't, you want to speculate, but the speculation is just going to make it worse. And I think that the thing you just can't touch is the truth. I think it's what it is. You can't touch the truth because they've hidden it for so long. I don't know. This whole mud flood thing, man. It's just Tartaria. Where'd that come from? There's maps of this. There's maps of this country called Tartaria. Where has it come from? What is this thing that they are talking about? Used to be the old Soviet Union. Apparently, it used to stretch into North America. There's maps. There's flags. But I was never taught of this place. Now, I'm not a geographer by any means, but you think that we would have known this, right? And then you see these pictures of all these towns in the 1800s, and they're all empty, and it's all mud on the streets, and then you see all these renovations to all these buildings where they dig down, trying to explain it to Angie. It's crazy, trying to tell her, look, this isn't just a cultural layer, because, cultural layers, you can, they stack up eventually. I bet you we probably got a good maybe 2 or 3 feet of cultural layering by now for the past couple hundred years. But this isn't cultural layering. This is like cultural layering and then dirt. And then there's a building underneath there. What was the picture that we were watching, or the picture that I saw the other day was a building. The picture that was taken, the guy was showing it was a, what they call it, an escarpment, I guess is what it was. Whatever the gargoyles stand on that are on the top of a building. And he was like, well, what do you think this was? This is the top of a building, isn't it? No, it was underneath the dirt. You could see the line where the dirt, there was like dirt over on this side, and this thing that was jutting out of the building was right here, and then the dirt was right here, and you can see the line on the building where there was dirt. It's like, why would you bury that underneath all that? Why would you build that underneath it? That is not cultural layering. There is no way. What the hell is that? And it's just like, oh man, my brain, And then the one I saw today, he it was a picture that he had where it was a building and he was looking at the door. You had the door here. This is the door where it was. You could tell that, they kind of had the previous layer was where the door was. But then you dug down and it just kept going down. This was all brick down here where it looks like they bricked it all up. But the entire door was this big and you could see where the dirt layer was on the building. And then you could see where the actual base used to be. This door was this big and it's like twice as tall as a man. And then it's like, man, I'm talking about giants. I'm talking about giants, man. I'm talking about 12, 20 feet tall monsters. I'm talking about guys that are miles high. And they're unearthing this stuff underneath buildings that are, 200 years old. And I'm like, and it's just puzzle piece after puzzle piece after puzzle. You just start connecting those dots, and then you start, man, they're still talking about the Great Pyramid being a temple to God. There's talking about the bottomless pit that's in the Giza Plateau, the part that goes down into the Well of Souls or whatever the hell's, I don't remember what the hell it's called. And then there's a pit that goes straight down, and they can't find the bottom of it because it's all nasty down in there. They're talking about the beast coming up from the bottomless pit. That could be the temple where. That could be the actual temple where they talk about the Antichrist coming in and claiming that he is a god of gods. It's like, wait a minute, hold on a second. It's just, it blows your mind, man. It's just, there's too much. There's too much. It's too much. It's just one thing after another after another. And it doesn't have to be true. It doesn't have to be true. It could all be some fantasy. It. I know I said it before that if it's all real, let's just say it's all real. Let's just say that, everything happened exactly the way they've told us that it happened. That none of this is real. That, the stories we hear in the books are just mythology, that it's all just stuff that people made up just to make themselves feel better. Let's just say all that's, it is what it is. Man, this world is way more messed up than we think it is, because it's just, but it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. None of it makes sense. Until you see it the way I see it. And then it makes perfect sense that it happened. And there's a reason that it happened. There's a reason that they hide it. There's a reason that they do things the way that they do. And then you got to find faith. You got to put yourself, you find some kind of faith. And you hope that it's for the best. All this time that I felt like I've been put down, and that I've been held down, and nothing's ever gone the way that I've wanted it to go, especially as a teenager. And I just felt depressed, and I started getting into those bad thoughts and those bad places, and it's like, it all made sense, because I was chosen to be at this point. Now, I'm not trying to brag about that, because I could just be some guy. I really could, but I've believed that there are no coincidences, that fate is an actual thing. Fates and destiny are an actual thing. And I was set on that path a long time ago, and I'm just now getting to that point to where I understand why that path led me to this point. And God needed me here for what? I don't know. I don't know. To sit here and talk on this, I'm not the first one that's done this. I'm not the first guy that's talked about this stuff. So it has to be that I'm either here to save myself or I'm here to save somebody else or something. I don't know. I don't know. There's a reason for it. There's a reason for it. I don't know what it is yet, so I'm just going to keep going this way and hope for the best. But that kind of puts it all in perspective. I see you. She's been sitting over here looking for me. It's time for me to go. So, but that's just the perspective I have now. Now, for any family members that are watching it, now you know. Now you know where I'm coming from. Now you know why the path I've taken is the path that I've taken, why I believe what I believe, because it's just been one thing after another, and there's a reason for it. And I'm a much better person now because of it. I've already said that, and I'm going to keep saying that. I don't fear talking about this anymore. I don't fear life anymore. I don't. What are the two base feelings that people have are love and fear, and I don't have total love, but I'm getting there. I'm getting better. I really am, and I don't have fear. I'm pushing fear away. I do not fear what is to come because I feel like I'm on a higher path, on a better path, and if I can help somebody get to where I am, even I don't want to say you don't have to believe in God. I'd love to be able to show everybody that's a thing and you can get to that point. But I think also to be able to just say, if you can see it for the truth, for what it is, if you can see the world for what it truly is, it will change you because the world is so beautiful. It really is. It's so beautiful. And the things that are in the world, the way that they are connected and the way that it's made, it's so beautiful. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And it's just, that's just the way I see it. That's just the way I see it. You could see it other ways. You don't have to believe me. I'm just a guy. I'm just an old man. I'm an old fat man sitting here talking into a computer. So, what do I know, right? I don't know anything. I don't know anything. Like I said, I got cracked in half, and everything that I knew when I got cracked in half got thrown out the window. So I don't know anything anymore. I am at a fresh start, and I am starting to find out. I'm starting to find out things that are just blowing my mind, and I love it. I think it's great. I wish I could. I wish I could tell other people and get them to believe, but it's just so hard. It's so hard trying to get somebody that can't see it to believe it. So I don't know. I even told Angie, maybe I'm here to save you. Maybe it's what it is. I don't know. Maybe I'm here just to save you. That's all it is. Maybe I'm here to save you. I don't know. That was cliche as hell. I'm so sorry. That was so cliche. That's like that ultimate, the guy looks at the camera and he's like, "Maybe I'm here for you," or so. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That was so bad. That was so bad. That's the kind of stuff makes me want to punch myself in the face. Okay. You go outside. Oh, she jumped. She's still there. Go outside. Outside. Are you going to talk to these people? You want to talk to these people? You want to talk to these people? Oh, did you? God, I hope that picked up. I hope that picked up. You nasty dog. You were so nasty. She does that too. She'll get right in your face and then burp. That or she'll lay down with her ass towards you and she'll fart. And she's got the most audible, nasty farts ever. You know, talk to these people. She's not gonna talk to me. Go, go. I'll be down. I'll stop in a second. Go. You're gonna have to. Okay, well, you're tearing up my couch now too. All right, so I gotta stop. There you go. Does that give you any idea? I mean, does it let you know just how crazy my mind works? I guess I don't know. This is gonna be my legacy. Apparently, it is what it is. So take care of yourselves and don't believe what I say. If it sparks any curiosity in your head, go look it up for yourselves. Don't look up the first thing you find. You got to dig for it because they're really, really suppressing the truth at this point. Follow the names that I said for flat earth stuff. The flat earth stuff will lead you to other truther stuff if you want. Like I said, Eric Dubay, Rob Skiba, Mark Sargent. Don't go for the one guy. What was his name? Who's the YouTuber? The guy that did the Suicide Forest thing. I can't think of his name now. Claims he's a flat earther now. I wish I could remember the one guy that's doing the Sandy Hook stuff, but I can't think of his name. But you can't search that up anymore. You can't look up Sandy Hook on YouTube anymore. You can't look up 9/11 anymore. You can't look up flat Earth anymore because it'll send you to the wrong thing. You can look it up. I think you can look it up and then set the search to newest uploads, and it should still send you to it. I don't know if it does that anymore. It was when they said it was happening. The first thing I did was I looked up flat Earth, and it's right. It's all flat Earth debunked, and it's all like science stuff and all this crap. But when I looked at it, I changed it from newest, or I changed it from what is it called, highest rated or something, to, or highest most viewed to upload dates. If you change it to upload dates, I think you can still find them. So you'll get the new stuff. And then from there, you can start spreading out. You just got to go to that channel. And it's still out there for now. They're probably going to shut it down. They're probably going to completely shut it down just for me talking about this. Like I said, they're probably going to shut me down. So there goes my YouTube history. But I don't care. I got to talk about it. I have to talk about it. Because it doesn't make sense to me. It I don't know. It's becoming dangerous. It really is to have any thought against what the government tells you to have a thought against. It is totally 1984, man. It totally is, and it's scary as hell. But no matter what, I'll make it through. I got God. God's on my side. I'm going to try my damnedest keeping it on my side. All right, I'm going to take this dog outside. Thank you guys very much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, or don't. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Proof. It doesn't matter. The fact that the videos are still on YouTube and they still show up in my feed shows me that it's not completely written off just yet. We probably got another year before they completely shut us down on that. But the fact that I can still get on there and go through my subscriptions, or just, have it suggested to me, to watch these videos. Even though I did see there were some in my suggested feed today, there were a couple debunker videos, and I'm like, that's where it starts. That's where it starts. It's going to become harder and harder for me. So anyways, it's like I said, I'm not looking at that stuff anymore. So I'm getting like the off the wall, Giants Nephilim, I'm getting that stuff now. So I'm not even doing like flat earth or 9/11 right now. So anyways, good luck to you all. God bless you. God bless you. I hope even if you don't agree with anything I said, I hope your life just goes on, man. And, it is what it is. I wish you all well in all your future endeavors, and I hope that the world lasts for you. God bless you. Take care. Save often. Go walk your dog. I shall see you guys later.